Welcome, everyone. My name is Molly Pals, and I'm the Digital Marketing Manager here at Automox. You have joined our monthly webinar where we review Microsoft's Patch Tuesday releases. I'd like to introduce Adam Whitman, Senior Technical Support Engineer here at Automox. Adam leads our customer support team and helps to ensure the satisfaction, success, and growth of our customers. Previously, Adam held support engineering roles at NetApp, HP, and Left Hand Networks. Adam, thanks so much for joining us, and I'll hand the webinar over to you.
Thanks, Molly, for that great introduction. And it looks like we have a good amount of people on the webinar, so I'll go ahead and say good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're at. So a couple of things we're going to cover. Some of the critical vulnerabilities. That includes the Chrome and Windows 7 zero-day vulnerability, and also the Microsoft Edge Chakra JavaScript vulnerability that's been discovered. We'll also talk about some noteworthy vulnerabilities that have been publicly disclosed or exploited. We'll talk about secure hashing algorithm 2, that's change in the code signing that Microsoft uses for their support. We'll talk about a Windows 10 auto revert functionality that came out recently by Microsoft. And then we'll do a quick demo to show you how do you actually remediate all these different vulnerabilities within your environment. And then we'll save some time at the end for some Q&A. All right, so we have a lot to cover today, so I'm just going to go ahead and dive into it. So remember, this is all part of the 4 fundamentals of cyber hygiene: keeping your operating systems patched, keeping software patched, managing your third-party software deployment, and then managing endpoint configurations. Okay, so we'll talk about just a breakdown of Patch Tuesday. What was released by Microsoft? So 1,440 distinct patches released in this Patch Tuesday release in March. 60 of those are actual vulnerabilities. 19 of those vulnerabilities are critical. Which means critical means that remote execution or some sort of elevation of privileges could be exploited within those vulnerabilities. 45 have important flaws within them, and then 1 of them are moderate and 1 of them are low, which means they are critical vulnerability, or they are vulnerabilities that can be exploited, but they're a little bit more difficult to exploit by the actual hacker. So to break that down, we'll talk about one of the first ones, which is the big one, the zero-day vulnerability that existed this month between Chrome and Windows. So how this kind of worked was the vulnerability is critical because attackers can gain access and perform remote executions on devices that they actually can exploit this vulnerability on. So attackers use the Windows 7, the Windows zero-day vulnerability, and that is the CVE 2019-0808 that we're talking about, that in conjunction with the Chrome zero-day, the CVE 5768, to essentially escape the Chrome browser sandbox, and at that point can execute any malicious code within the devices. So Chrome actually went ahead, they patched theirs earlier this month. They patched it on March 1st, and then Windows didn't release their patch for the zero-day in the Patch Tuesday release. So it is critical that you guys get these up to date. These are the ones that are the biggest for Microsoft and Chrome right now. The platforms that are affected, Windows 7 and Windows 7 Server 2008 R2, and this fix is available in the 2019 Security Monthly Rollup. So look for that Security Monthly Rollup in that patch release. But to really be to avoid these exposures and other exposures like this in the future, is you always want to make sure that you're upgraded to at least a higher version of Windows. So really, what the recommendation would be is to go ahead and upgrade any devices that are on Windows 7 to Windows 10. The next one we'll talk about is the Microsoft Edge Chakra. So this is a JavaScript vulnerability that exists in Chakra. And essentially, a remote execution vulnerability exists, and it's around the way the engine handles objects in memory for the Microsoft Edge. So the vulnerability could corrupt memory in a way that the attackers could execute arbitrary code in the context of the user. So the user can gain access as a root user. So it is an elevation of privileges type vulnerability. And the platforms that are affected are Windows 10, version 1809, and then Windows Server 2019. This is a more up-to-date version of Windows vulnerability. So the fix is available in this for the cumulative update as well. So the next thing we'll talk about is noteworthy vulnerabilities that have been publicly disclosed or exploited. So these are vulnerabilities that are public knowledge, and that makes them dangerous because people know about them. The more information you have on something, the more you can actually exploit that. Now, none of these vulnerabilities from the last update have actually been exploited, but they are publicly disclosed, so they are vulnerable to be exploited. So CVE 2019-0683, and this is an elevation of privileges type vulnerability. And really what this vulnerability does is it exists in the Active Directory for Microsoft under Force Trusts. So it gives access to the, basically it gives access to the Active Directory for the device. With access to Active Directory, the hacker will have any type of information they need on the device. So CVE 2019-0809 is a remote code execution type vulnerability. And this exists in really in Visual Studio C++. And really under the, if you want to get more granular, it's under the distributable installer. So this is the installer for Studio C++. So during installation of this application, it could happen at that point, or it could happen right now with the current version. So it's really good that if you are running Visual Studio's 2019, that you go ahead and patch this one. CVE 2019-0757 is a tampering vulnerability. So that exists right now only in the NuGet package manager. So if NuGet's being used as a package manager, right now you want to make sure that you patch in the .NET Core March update, and that's available through the Microsoft Windows update as well, and it's CVE 2019-0757. And the last one will be CVE 2019-0754, and that is a denial of service, which means they'll deny any service running on the device. And it's really the vulnerability exists in the way Windows is handling the objects in memory. So this is a vulnerability on the OS itself, and it's a denial of service memory. Now, all of these patches are available through the Windows Update and supported by Automox. So as long as you make sure that you're up to date with the latest Patch Tuesday releases, you'll make sure that these vulnerabilities have been patched. So let's move on to the SHA-2, so the Secure Hashing Algorithm 2 code signing support for Windows and WSS. So this is just more of an informational thing, and you need to take some action on this if you are going to be moving out of these legacy OSs that you're running. So right now, due to weaknesses in SHA-1, they're going to go ahead and just start aligning with SHA-2. Now when, Microsoft used to use SHA-1 in conjunction with SHA-2, but now they're just going to move away off of SHA-1 and just totally move to SHA-2. So with that, you got to make sure that you're doing certain steps and doing certain standalone updates to make sure that you're fully patched. Customers running legacy OS versions and also legacy WSS, so 3.0 SP2, if they're running Windows 7 SP1, Windows Server 2008, and then Windows Server 2008 SP2, so both those service packs are susceptible to getting these standalone updates first before you actually update to SHA-2. For Windows 10 and above, it's pretty easy. You just go ahead and make sure that you're patched fully with the most recent Windows Update releases, and it's going to go ahead and upgrade that SHA-2 for you. So the next slide is just going to kind of show you a breakdown of the dates, and it's important that you know these dates so you can be on the lookout for them when they actually do the releases. So March 12th, and that is the first iteration under this Patch Tuesday, so these have already been released, are going to release the introduction for SHA-2 code signing. So this is the first step they're going to be doing. And these are for devices such as that are running Windows 7, Windows Server 2008, so older legacy versions. On March 12th, this KB release is to address the WSS 3.0 SP2. So the same day, they release it for WSS. On April 9th, they're going to go ahead and release it for the Windows Server 2008 SP2, and that's, again, just the support for the code signing. On June 18th and on, this is when they'll actually start releasing the SHA-2 code. So for things like Windows 10, 1709, 1803, 1809, and Windows Server 2019, that'll be released June 18th. That's when they'll be fully supporting SHA-2. And then for the legacy ones, they'll be rolling them out a little later. So it's important that you get those standalone ones first that they're releasing in this Patch Tuesday before those updates can actually be pushed through in later Patch Tuesday releases. So it's really important to know that and to go ahead and get those remediated as soon as possible, as in they're going to be using SHA-2, and Windows Update actually won't update your system anymore. WSS won't update your system anymore unless you're using that secure hash algorithm 2. Okay, so I want to talk about the Windows 10 Auto Revert functionality that came out. This came out recently in March, and really what this is it's a feature enhancement by Microsoft. And what it's really designed to do, and some background on what Windows done. So Microsoft's goal is to release 2 major Windows 10 feature updates a year, and then also a weekly patch release. So the 2 major updates are Fall or Spring Creator, and that's their goal, is to release a couple of those every year. Now, a lot of those times, and you've seen in the past where the update goes through and it fails. And these happen a lot, feature updates a lot. So what Microsoft has done, instead of going through and fixing the actual core issues in it, is they're releasing kind of a safety net in terms of if this patch fails, Microsoft will revert to the old version, and then they'll reboot the PC to resolve the issue that the update caused. So if the issue occurs, Windows will not try to reinstall it for 30 days. And that gives Microsoft time to kind of fix the issues that have been causing that failure to happen in the first place. So what's that mean for Automox users? So obviously we use Windows Update and we use WSS to do a lot of our updating. We tell the WSS server or Windows Update to actually apply updates as we see fit in the policies that you've configured. So, some of the things that you need to be aware of that this Windows 10 auto reboot is going to affect. So visibility of the current OS version within Automox. We have current visibility, and we will show you what current version that you're on by this. So if you saw an upgrade come through for a feature update and it didn't come through correctly, we're going to show you the old version that you're on, so you know that update didn't happen correctly, and you may need to manually then update at that point in time. And with Automox, you have the choice to manually update anytime you want to. So if you do know that that patch has been fixed, you can go into Automox and manually apply that feature update for your devices, and it will go ahead and apply them for you. So Automox also will attempt to, if Automox sees the old version and also sees the new version of the feature update, Automox is going to try to attempt to patch that. We'll try to attempt to patch it every time that policy runs. So you have it set weekly. Microsoft may not have fixed the issues yet, but we're going to try to keep applying those. So right now, Automox is just really trying to understand this functionality and trying to create more features around our product to help this feature visibility and to know why your patches are failing due to this feature. So Automox will continue to work on to understand this feature better and to make improvements in the product to support it better. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, so we talked about all the vulnerabilities. The next thing I want to kind of talk about is how do you remediate these? We know about these vulnerabilities. You need to remediate them in my environment. How can I do that through Automox? I'm going to show you how to do that today. Okay, just let me do a quick screen share. Okay, so everyone should be seeing my screen at this point in time. So we're in the Automox console, and I want to talk about first the different ways you can remediate these. And we'll talk about policies first. So looking at the console, so let's go ahead and create a new policy. And what policies really are designed to do is to assign specific criteria that you have for your devices in terms of your patching needs, and then being able to remediate those at a certain schedule. So if you go to the Create Policy section, you have different ways that you can remediate. What we really want to talk about is how by severity. So by severity, these are all critical updates that we're talking about. So you want to make sure that those are being addressed first. So we have a by severity policy where you can easily just select, name the policy, give any notes you want, make sure the policy is on, and then make sure you're choosing critical updates for your scope. Now, when this policy is actually assigned to your devices, it's only going to patch devices that are critical. So we have the ability to pull the CV information and give the severity a score. And we give these severities a critical if it's severities like this that we've talked about. So if this policy is now created and you assign it, it'll go ahead and remediate any of these vulnerabilities on those devices. Now, if we go back and we look at other patch policies, we also have a patch all policy. And this will also remediate those critical vulnerabilities for you as well. The patch all policy is designed to any patch that we support natively as the OS or third-party application, we'll go ahead and apply if we see any new updates. So anything that came in or through Patch Tuesday, any and all distinct patches will be patched with the patch all policy that's supported by the OS. So by severity is good to if you just want to make sure that you're getting those by severity ones quickly. And patch all is something that you want to set more in a scope of. I know Patch Tuesday comes out the second week of every March. I want to make sure I'm setting a patch all policy right after that Patch Tuesday to make sure that I'm catching everything that comes up. So that's a good way to schedule your remediation. To make sure that every time as soon as these policies are released, I'm going to go ahead and remediate them as soon as possible. Well, let's talk about if you don't have the ability to do that and you need to make sure that you can only do it in certain windows. So you manually need to make sure that these vulnerabilities have been remediated. Automox has the ability to do that in 3 different ways as well. The first way is to remediate a certain piece of software across all of your devices within your environment. So the software page allows you to do that. It allows you to target a certain specific patch, find that patch, and then patch it across all of your devices. It doesn't matter which group it's in. It doesn't matter which segment of your infrastructure it's in. It's going to go ahead and just apply it wherever it sees it within Automox. And it's very easy to do. Once you find the patch you want to apply, you can just simply go here to Actions and then Patch Now. Once that's clicked, it's going to go ahead and apply the latest update to that patch across all of your devices. So this is a good way to do it if I just want that patch patched across all my devices and I don't care about where they're at or who they are. I just want to make sure it's taken care of. The next way we'll do it is through the policy that's already been created for your devices. So if we go to System Management, you'll see that all of your policies here are on your left, and then all of your groups are here on your right. So on your right are your groups of devices. So these are your devices you've already segmented into different groups. So if I wanted to remediate immediately a policy that I already have that includes these critical patches, all I would need to do is select the policy. The policy would then draw a line to the groups associated with it, and you have the ability to execute the policy now. As soon as you click that button, it's going to execute that policy across all devices, all groups is associated with. Now, the great thing about this is you can really target which groups you want to apply this policy to, or devices that you want to apply it to. So this is a really good way to do it if you already have a policy created, you know it's what you need. Now, the last way we're going to be doing it here is if I want to do it on a specific device, and we see this a lot within Automox. We say, okay, I don't want to do it across all these groups. I don't want to do it on the policy level. I want to make sure that these specific devices have been patched. Well, we have the ability to go to the individual devices and apply individual patches that exist within the software inventory. So you can see here I have a list of devices, and I want to target this Windows 2016 device. So if I click on the device, I'll get all the device information, and I'll also get any policies that have been associated with it. Now, the good thing about this is I can run a policy from the device itself, and it's only going to run the policy on this specific device, right? Run on this device. It won't run the policy across all your groups. It'll just run it on this device. However, maybe I just don't want all of those patches. Maybe I'm specifically focusing on the cumulative update because it includes a critical CVE that I need remediated in my environment. So I can go down here to the software inventory for the device and do remediation for specific patches. So if you look here, this is the 2019 cumulative update for Windows Server 2016 that was released in March, and it includes the KB number that was released. So a lot of these different critical and even moderate and low severities have been released in this cumulative update, right? So what you need to do is I want to make sure that this cumulative update is remediated on this device. All I need to do is, okay, here it is. I know it's critical. I can go to Actions and Patch Now. Once I do that and click Continue, I'll get a message here at the top that says Success, Patch Update Queued, and then I know that patch is being updated. Now, once the patch is successfully installed on the device, you'll get a push notification email that notifies you that the patch is successfully installed and you know it's been remediated. After that, once you refresh and rescan the device, it should show the new version on the device, knowing that the patch has been applied to the device. And that's it for the demo. So I just wanted to show you quickly on how you do that. I'm going to go back. And I think I kick it over to you, Molly.
Yeah, so we'll hop into Q&A. Please only send questions that are related to Patch Tuesday. If you have any support-related questions, you can email support@automox.com or head to support.automox.com to learn more from our documentation and knowledge base.
Great, thanks, Molly. All right, so let's look to see if we have any questions. Okay, so the first question that came in is, how do I tell if I'm up to date as an Automox customer? So great question, and I can show you that right here since we're sharing. So to know how up to date your devices are using Automox, it's pretty simple. We have this intuitive dashboard that kind of gives statistics across all of your devices and all of your environment. So you can see right now that up to date, I have 8 devices up to date, and I'm 67% up to date. And then it also says, okay, I'm not 100% up to date, so what kind of pending updates do I have? Well, you can find those out right here by clicking on pending updates, and it's going to show you the different pending updates you have across which devices that exist in which groups. So that's an easy way and a quick way to tell how up to date you are. Now, if you want to break it down in terms of which devices, you can go to our custom reports and you can pull pre-patch reports that show how up to date you are and which devices are going to be remediated the next time the policy runs. And I'm just going to leave this share up, I guess, if I can, just to, if I need to share any more questions. So the next question is, how can I automate my response to Patch Tuesday? It's a great question. We kind of talked about this earlier. So we do know that Patch Tuesday is released the second Tuesday of every month. And it's starting around it starts around as early as, I would say, 1700 UTC. So that's the time that Microsoft aims to start releasing things. So the best thing to do, if you know that, is in Automox, you can schedule your policy to be remediated the second week in a month. So, and I can show you that really quick since we're here. If I go to edit this policy real fast, if I go down here to schedule, I can select the second week of the month, and that will allow me, allow the device to then patch then. And if Patch Tuesday comes out Tuesday, you want to make sure that you at least give it a day for everything to kind of get released. It also gives some bandwidth to any bad patches could be exposed. And then you can set the remediation policy on a Wednesday or a Thursday. So that's kind of the best practice that we give our customers. If Patch Tuesday comes out on Tuesday, let's go ahead and remediate Wednesday morning and make sure all of those things are caught from Patch Tuesday are remediated in my environment as soon as possible. Now, some customers aren't able to do that. They want to wait a week or wait an iteration before they actually apply the patches to vet out any bad patches. So in that case, we suggest that you wait 1 week out, so the third week of the month, and then apply your patches then. Okay, next question. We are currently evaluating Automox with a demo. Could you show us how to do a manual approve policy? Great question. So, and for this one, you can definitely schedule a demo with us, and we'll go over more detail by high level. You would just create a manually approved policy. So we go back to system management and create policy, and then we can create a manual approved policy. Now, your manual approved policies, you can create the operating system that you want, and then whether it's a pending approval or rejection. And then it's going to populate the packages here in the policy scope for you. Now, we will stage the packages for you within the environment, but you'll actually want to apply them until an Automox admin comes in and says, okay, I see this patch in my policy scope. Go ahead and click approve. Once you click approve as a Automox admin, it'll go ahead and apply that single patch. The good thing about it is you can be selective and select only patches you want to apply, or you can just go ahead and approve all of them if you want in one click. Okay, next question is, why should I use Automox instead of Windows Update Agent to respond to Patch Tuesday? Great question. So Windows Update Agent has some functionalities that do not exist that Automox really is aimed to tackle. And these are things like remediation scheduling and a very granular look into which patches are being applied. You have a lot of notifications that can be sent and automated, and a number of other different features that are focused around actually specific patching of a device. So Windows Update we use as a repository, but we really don't want Windows Update to do the patching because they have no real good orchestration for that. So for Patch Tuesday, for something Microsoft releases, we have visibility into everything that comes out. We can schedule the remediation. We can tell you why things are failing, and we have visibility in custom reports that are targeted to patching. So it's really, our software is the actual orchestration piece of the actual orchestration piece for all the devices, and Microsoft kind of acts as a repository. And the reason we do that is because we just have the functionality, the features that the device is needed to successfully patch and stay remediated for a long period of time. Okay, the next question is, how do we update zero-day third-party patching for items like Adobe or Office with Automox without it failing? Great question. So Automox has the ability to remediate all those different third-party applications that were just mentioned. Those are, big, huge titled third-party applications, and Automox supports up to 15 to 16 titles right now. So how you can remediate those is remediating like anything else in your device. We support remediating natively supported Microsoft OS patches along with the third-party applications that we list. So all of those can be handled the same way. So you can selectively go in any of those manners that we had last time and do the same thing with third-party applications. I can target, say, the Chrome vulnerability release
inside the software page, and I can remediate it across all my devices in one hit. Or I can go to the device itself and remediate from the software inventory. So just think of it as handling it the same way as the natively supported patches.
Thanks, Adam, for walking through March's Patch Tuesday with us. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We hope to see you next month, where we'll cover April's Patch Tuesday security updates. Thanks, everyone.